And we're live, everybody. We are live. Thank you very much for joining us for this week's Bharat Army Podcast, where we are discussing the middle order for the World Test Championship final that India are going to be playing against New Zealand. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. I am your usual host, Ashish Gadvi. Obviously, not like you were expecting anybody else. But here we are discussing all things World Test Championship final and our middle order. So let's see who our cricket connoisseurs are for this week on our podcast. We've got Sanchit joining us again. Sanchit, how you doing?
Good over here, Ashish. Really excited to be on the show and finally talking about Team India ahead of a big final next month. So really looking forward to the show.
Yeah, big final, big final. Looking forward to it. We've also got Anusha joining us, she's just disappeared, so we'll come back to Anusha. We've got Rishi Chabra. Mr. Chabra, how you doing?
Good, Ashish. How's it going? Early morning start for you on a Sunday morning?
Early morning start. I've even got my bowl of cereal right here. It's that early, but this is what we do for the love of cricket. We wake up early in the
Absolutely.
morning and do
And
podcasts.
and I think now it's time you guys should get used to it with less than a month to go for the big finals. So yes.
Less than a month to go. I've got my tickets. I can't wait. Southampton is freezing cold, but it should be okay. Hopefully, by the time we get to June, all the weather should be nice. Here's hoping. So let's get into our discussion about the middle order, shall we? So let's take a look at our Bharat Army selection so far. Our team that we selected, obviously, last week. We did the podcast about the openers, and we selected Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill. We attested that Cheteshwar Pujara and Virat Kohli should be, kind of shoo-ins at this point. Rishabh Pant is obviously going to be our wicketkeeper, and Jasprit Bumrah makes up our selection for who we think is going to be the shoo-ins for this team. So let's get started talking about this middle order, eh? And I guess that number 3 position of Pujara is really somebody who is going to be cemented in that position. So let's take a look at Pujara's stats, his World Test Championship stats that he's got. So he's played 17 matches, 818 runs, a high score of 81 versus South Africa and 950s. Pujara's stats kind of flattered to deceive a little bit. I mean, there's obviously been a lot of talk about Pujara and the kind of player that he actually is. But Rishi, what do you make of Pujara and how he's played in the World Test Championship so far, and what kind of player you think he is?
Ashish, looking at his performance in the World Test Championship the last 2 years, I think most of the situations that he's come into, he's had to play an anchor role where we're not in a very good position where we are. I mean, looking at Australia, where we lost the first Test match really bad, and then the same happened against England as well. Let's not forget, he was among the top run scorer in New Zealand, where he did score a few runs. I mean, that just 2 games and India was outplayed in New Zealand as well. But not really the Pujara that we know. We haven't seen a big 100 for him, a match-winning knock. Even though he's played a lot of deliveries that has actually helped India, come out from a difficult situation and save a few Test matches. But then that's Pujara for you. He takes off the pressure from the middle order and absorbs it as if there's nothing happening around him. And let's not forget, Test cricket is not just about scoring runs and scoring those big hundreds. It's absorbing that pressure, like I said, and playing those deliveries and helping the team later on in a situation. So Pujara has done pretty well doing that. But when it comes to the finals, I think we all have a lot of expectations from him, especially given the fact that he's had so much international experience and he's a Test specialist. So I think it's time he should rise up to the occasion and get us that win in Southampton.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. Sanjit, what kind of innings do you think we're going to need from Pujara to win the World Test Championship final? Because obviously, when you talk about technique and all of that, he's kind of the player with the best defensive technique out of everybody, you would say.
Well, to be honest, I think the innings that we are to expect from someone like Cheteshwar Pujara totally depends upon the match situation that we are currently where we are going to be in that particular game. So if we are chasing in the final inning like we were chasing at Gabba or even Sydney for that matter, so we would need that resilience from someone like Cheteshwar Pujara while the batsmen around him look for the run. So it's really, I think I agree with you on the point that stats could deceive the topic of Cheteshwar Pujara. I believe he's a much better player than what the stats currently show. I think he has played an exceptional knock at Sydney and also Gabba, which had ensured a famous series win down under. But I believe for Pujara, I think this is going to be a big tour. I think not just Pujara, I think all the senior players that are going to be in the team, it is going to be a big tour for them. And going by the expectation, I really hope that he replicates the kind of an innings he played in 2018. He doesn't have a good record in English conditions, having played two major tours and even county cricket for that matter in England. But I think the only century that came in England for him was in Southampton. So it's really going to be interesting to see what kind of an innings as an Indian cricket team fan to hope from Pujara. But I really hope that he steps up when the team needs him, because we often see that the Indian team has always been having problems with their openers, majorly in England for that matter. So it is going to be a big series for him, and hoping that the resilience of Pujara stays intact whenever he comes on to bat. And I think with the Duke's ball, which swings around, I think almost all the 80 overs, I think Pujara is going to be someone to hold the fort from one end, and that is going to be really crucial from him. So hoping that he could contribute those resilience and put on a big score after that, like we didn't see in Australia, but hoping that the England series could be the turning point for him in this particular thing.
Yeah, you certainly hope so. We've got Anusha back now. Thank you for joining us today, Anusha. Anusha, Pujara, what do you make of him and his position in this team, and how he's hopefully going to perform in the World Test Championship final?
See, I think we have people like Pujara and the Dravids for a reason, right? Everybody cannot go all out and just score aggressively. I think we should stop scrutinizing the way he plays or his strike rate or anything, because that's the way he plays, and we need him at number 3 doing that role. Nobody in this country can do that. We have, I know Hanuma Vihari can do a block and all that, but I don't think anybody can do it like Pujara. So I don't even know why we are having this debate in this country if he's going to be number 3 and if that's the way he should play. I think there is no question about it for me.
Well, you certainly don't want to debate it, although others would say that both barrels will be pointing at Pujara in that lineup first and foremost. I'm not one of those, but there might be some around there say that. But obviously, Rishi mentioned Pujara's innings and how he played in the New Zealand series when we last played them. Let's just take a look at his stats versus Tim Southee, because we've got some key battle stats between our batsmen and the New Zealand bowlers. So if we could just bring up Pujara's innings against Southee, 43 runs, 130 balls, 3 dismissals, and 5 fours. That's not the best of reading. That's not the best of reading. You could argue that maybe Tim Southee's got his number a little bit. Rishi, what do you think?
Like Sanchit said, I won't really focus on the stats because right after the New Zealand series, we had the Australia series where he was the highest run scorer for India. I mean, obviously Rishabh Pant was the top run scorer, but then there wasn't much that you can differentiate between the two. But looking at the New Zealand series, there definitely was an upper edge that Saudi had over Pujara. But I think going forward into the Test Championship, we will have a pitch that's been prepared by ICC, and we've moved on from the New Zealand series. There's a lot of time that has happened, so I think there will be a good encounter, and I'm not really sure if the stats are going to continue in the way they are, and hopefully Pujara should come on top of Tim Southee this time.
We certainly hope so. We certainly hope so. Moving forward then, I think obviously we're pretty much in agreement that Pujara is going to be our number 3 batsman in this match. Not that there's even anybody who could even replace him. But let's move on, shall we? And it's Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli is who we're talking about next. These are his World Test Championship stats. 14 matches, 877 runs with a high score of 254 versus South Africa and an average of 43.9. I mean, there's only so much we can keep praising this guy on this podcast, but I think it's fair to say that his form at the moment isn't, what you kind of want it to be. Having said that, though, when you've got a player like this in your lineup, that you obviously can't look past him. He's obviously the India captain as well. So, Sanjit, Virat Kohli, how do you think he needs to play in this World Test Championship final for us to secure the win?
I think he needs to have a look at how he played in the 2018 England tour. I think he was exceptional and almost like a one-man army in that particular series. And I think most of the critics had written off Virat Kohli after that 2014 England series, and the way he came back in the second English tour that he faced, I think that was simply remarkable. So I think the situation for him, Virat Kohli, right now is in a bit of similar position, though he's not in that bad form as he was earlier, because he still has a good number of runs. I think he did score a couple of 80s, even though he did not get those big hundreds. I think we think of Virat Kohli, we always see if he's not scoring 100, he's not in a good reign of form. So that is the expectation. That is the level that he has maintained in the recent years. But as you saw the stats since 2019, I think since 2019 and in that South Africa series, after that there is no 100 for Virat Kohli, but still he has scored 877. Then I think that's remarkable. So for Virat Kohli, I think this is going to be a big final, I believe so, because in English conditions you are often going to expect that the Indian batsman is going to have a big challenge. So if the captain could step up at number 4, doing what he has done in 2018, I think that could be a remarkable boost for Team India in this final, and also for the upcoming 5 test matches against England as well. So really expecting the Virat Kohli of 2018 to step up, and I think he really loves a challenge. So facing the New Zealand bowlers who are maybe in the prime form right now. So this is going to be a very interesting battle, and really looking forward to see Jamieson versus Virat Kohli and also Trent Bolt, because left arm pacers versus Virat Kohli is always an interesting battle. So I think the quality of the New Zealand pacers is going to get the best out of Virat Kohli. I certainly hope that would happen.
Well, you mentioned Jameson just there, and the other key battle that we've got lined up in this World Test Championship final is, of course, Virat Kohli versus Kyle Jameson, and there you go, 21 runs, 45 balls, 1 dismissal, and 3 fours. So he's obviously faring a little bit better against Kyle Jameson. Anusha, what do you make of those stats and how you think that our Captain Marvel should play in the World Test Championship final? Should he curb his enthusiasm?
See, as a Test cricket fan, I don't think there has been a more important time for Test cricket. And been so proud of our captain placing so much importance in Tests. And I know this final will mean a lot to him. There is going to be some pressure playing against New Zealand there, but we need that enthusiasm, we need that aggression from him to win, be it in his batting, be it in his captaincy. I just think he should play the way he's been playing in England, like Sanchit said in 2018. Yeah, it's a big moment, and he should just play the way he has, and he'll do good, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, Rishi, Anusha mentioned, kind of Virat Kohli and how much he backs Test cricket. He's obviously the captain of this team, and as we know, legacy is very, very important to Virat Kohli. It's something that I think might nag at him quite a little bit, because obviously the comparisons with him and his predecessor is something that everybody always does, with Dhoni having lifted 3 ICC tournament titles. So, how important do you think this match is for Kohli? Do you think it's probably the most important match of his career in his own eyes?
Well, absolutely, it has to be. We've seen how Virat Kohli has gone after Test cricket. That is the purest form of cricket, and he's absolutely loved it, and he likes donning the white. And I believe this one win and this one ICC trophy will actually get a lot of pressure off him. We've seen so much people criticizing him that he's not a good captain, he can't win the big tournaments. We've seen that in the 2017 Champions Trophy final, 2019 semi-final World Cup. And I think, it's time that he needs to win an ICC tournament and get over with it, so that who knows, winning a big tournament can actually help him with his runs and with his future performances. So I think it's very crucial for him. But, like MS Dhoni keeps saying, let's not, focus on the championship too much. Let's focus on the process, because if your process is right, if you're doing everything right, the result will come your way. Just one thing that I want to add, to Virat Kohli, I've actually seen him play 2 big innings in England, the 2017 finals and the 2019 semi-finals. And something that was very similar in both these innings, that the moment he came to bat, he was very restless. He was moving around the crease a lot. something that I really don't want him to do. Aggression is something different, but keeping his cool when he comes into bat is very important, because we're playing test cricket. It's not white ball, it's red ball cricket. So I think his knock is going to be very, very crucial for India in this match.
Yes, indeed, restlessness. I too remember those two innings, and yeah, he looked like he had ants in his pants throughout both of those matches. Who knows why? He's going to be facing Trent Boult again, which obviously he faced in that New Zealand semi-final. So we'll have to see how he fares against the left arm seamers. Thankfully, no Mohammad Amir in this match as well, though, so we're all good. Now then, you talked about criticism. Rishi, you talked about criticism. And I have a feeling that the next person we're going to be talking about is going to be the center of most of our criticism on this podcast. We are talking about, of course, Ajinkya Rahane, the vice captain. Here are his World Test Championship stats: 17 matches, runs 1,095, highest score of 115 versus South Africa, and an average of 43.8. So his stats actually are suggesting that he's kind of doing all right. But Anusha, we seem to always, along with Pujara, we have another barrel lined up towards Rahane. People have always been a little bit hit and miss about him.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, it's funny that before every test series we get together and debate his position. But
every time.
Every single time. And every time Virat and Ravi Shastri have no doubt at all. And he's a guaranteed player in the team for sure. And especially after the way he led the team, the way he stepped up in absence of Virat Kohli in Australia, I really don't see a reason why he won't play. And I know there have been debates about how he's played in England, his technique, his consistency, the same way he gets out. Even I get worked up. But frankly speaking, I don't see anybody else playing there and taking the team ahead. And I just have this feeling he's going to do something magical in this final.
Well, Anusha, if I could just play devil's advocate for a minute, is the real problem not that they've, when you say that there's nobody else who can replace him, is also part of the problem not that they've just persisted with him for far too long, so that, if there was a time when they could have found a player to replace him, that time has long since gone now, that, you're kind of stuck with these three in this position. Obviously, Kohli, there's no debating him. Pujara kind of does what he does. But Rahane's position, do you not feel like there was a window in which they could have actually tried to blood somebody else into that position?
Yeah, I got that feeling a few years ago for sure, when he was just absolutely not scoring at all. His technique was all over the place. But now, I frankly don't think there is anybody who is going to replace him, say a Vihari or anybody else. Yeah, I think we lost that window, frankly.
Yeah, maybe trapped ourselves in a little bit of a corner, you would say. Maybe they might come out and fight like cornered tigers, eh? Anybody who remembers that one? Sanchit, Ajinkya Rahane, he was obviously the captain in Australia. I think that a lot of people tend to forget last time we won the Test series down there. But he only scored the one century down there, and he flattered to deceive with a bat a little bit.
I think, to be honest, if we had the conversation of having Ajinkya Rahane in the playing 11 before the Australian series, I think many would have criticized Rahane's form with the bat. But I think that Australia series and that knock at MCG, and even the way he captained in that particular series, has actually changed the perception of everyone who criticized Ajinkya Rahane. Not almost, if not everyone, I think majority. So I think Ajinkya Rahane still holds a very important place in the side, given that he's going to be batting at number 5, which is going to be a very much crucial position, especially in England when the ball is swinging almost all the 80 overs. So, and I think it is not a long time before that we used to think that Ajinkya Rahane is someone who struggles at home but performs well overseas. I think there was one time where he had an average of almost close to 50 overseas. So that was remarkable from Ajinkya Rahane, and I think still there is a chance for Ajinkya Rahane to redeem himself with the bat. And as we saw, that he's, I think, India's leading run scorer in World Test Championship. I know that stats could deceive you if you look at it from a different perspective, but I still believe that Ajinkya Rahane will hold a key in this particular match. And in 2018 also, I think, when India toured England and when we played at Southampton, and even in 2014, Ajinkya Rahane has scored 350s in the 4 innings that he played at Southampton. So maybe that could be the boost that Rahane needs before going into the final, having a good record at the Rose Bowl. So that's definitely going to be a thing to look upon. And I think, talking about the future, I still think there is still a little bit of hope in the window of having a potential number 5 replacement. I know that it could not be popular opinion, but I wouldn't mind seeing someone like Shubman Gill batting at number 5, to be honest, because before he came into the squad in Australia, I definitely saw him replacing someone in the middle order. I didn't see him opening. So I really believe that he could do VVS Lakshman. I think VVS Lakshman even started off as an opener, but then went on to bat at number 5. So maybe we could see something similar for Shubman Gill in the long term. Not definitely this series, because it's I think lost cause for now, because Ajinkya Rahane is still an integral part. But if we are looking into the future, I think Gill is going to be a big part in that middle order, and especially the way how he plays the new ball. Also, we saw that in Australia. So it's definitely going to be a very important period for all the youngsters, because we still have an aging squad, and by 2023 2024 most of our senior players would be of a similar age, and we have to look for the future as well. So it's going to be exciting as well, but really nervous about certain position as well. But for now, I think Ajinkya Rahane is the man of the hour for this England tour.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, you talk about some of the younger names there, and you mentioned Shubman Gill. I would probably also throw Shreyas Iyer's name into that hat of potential middle order batsman who could be blooded into the Test team at some point. I would hope. Rishi, Sanjit obviously mentioned some of the highlights of Ajinkya Rahane in this World Test Championship, and kind of everything he's done. But I've got to tell you, I still have nightmares about Edgbaston 2008 and that shot he played to get out. I just have a fear that Rahane, with him, he could do something ridiculous like that.
Well, Ashish, we can argue that, but then look at how Virat Kohli matured from 2014 to 2018. He's had a horrible England summer long back, and then he, matured as a person, and then he had an amazing 2018 series in England. But let's not forget, we talk about replacing Rahane. The problem is he's a solid middle order batsman, but he's also your vice captain. He comes in handy as a captain when Virat Kohli wasn't there. We saw that in Australia. He led the team from a situation where we were 36 all out and down in a test match that we could have won. And then he came back and scored a century. I know, he didn't perform in the remaining games, but he did manage to score a lot of runs in Australia. He was the third highest run scorer, just 1 run behind Cheteshwar Pujara. The England series was very average, but I think with the experience that Rahane has and the value that he brings to the team, we can't just replace him in a crucial game like a World Test Championship final. Obviously, looking at the future, I mean, you need to start somewhere, and that can only happen when you replace someone in the middle order along with Rahane and you groom them. So I think if you look at the future, you need to start right now. So probably the England series or later towards the end of the year, the South Africa series could be a bit handy. But I'm not really sure if we should be debating Rahane, because if you keep saying that, Virat Kohli hasn't scored those daddy 100, Cheteshwar Pujara hasn't scored those runs and those match-winning innings, the same goes for Rahane as well. So, but he has contributed in some way with the bat and as a captain and helped us winning that series in Australia. So I think, you have to give him credit where it's due, and hopefully he should come good for us in the finals.
Yes, indeed. Hopefully he should. Anusha, did you want to come back with anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. So one of the other names before we move on to the wicketkeeper's position that is thrown into this hat is Hanuma Vihari. He's a little bit of an outside bet to make it into the World Test Championship final. He will probably fare in the England Test series at some point. But let's just have a quick look at his stats. 8 matches, 457 runs, highest score of 111 versus the West Indies, and an average of 38.1. So, not terrible by any means. Anybody think that Hanuma Vihari will get a look in during the England series?
Go ahead, Rishi.
Sanchit, go ahead.
I think if we talk about Hanuma Vihari, I still feel that he hasn't done enough to maybe warrant a place in the starting 11 straight away. I think if you consider his county form recently, it hasn't been that convincing. So I think England series, I think he won't be a starter. I believe if something goes wrong, then only I think we could consider someone like Hanuma Vihari in the middle order. But if we do consider Hanuma Vihari, I think that would also benefit us in the bowling as well, because he does bowl a couple of good overs as well. So if we have a look at Hanuma Vihari, we have to expect consistent performances from him as well. So, but for now, I don't see him making way into the starting 11 just because of the way he has performed at the county level recently.
Yeah, Rishi.
Absolutely. I would agree with Sanchit. Like he said, not a sure shot in the starting 11, but if things go haywire, I probably feel Hanuman Vihari should, given a chance, given the fact that, he's played a lot of test cricket now, and he's been in England playing county cricket as well. But Ashish, one thing that I would like to add, I was reading the comments somewhere, someone said that should KL Rahul be given a chance in the middle order. I think, it's time that the team management should actually have a word with KL Rahul. Tell him whether they see him as an opener or as a middle order, because I think we have a lot of players who can open for us. And I think, KL Rahul deserves that justification from the management, how they see him as a player. So I think middle order, hopefully, if you're considering Hanuman Bihari, we might consider KL Rahul as well, keeping in mind that, he might come in handy as a wicket-keeper batsman as well.
To be honest with you, Rishi, I'm very confused about KL Rahul. He's quite kind of saying, how did the management see him? Did they see him as an opener? Did they see him as a middle order player? Dare I say, I think that they should have a conversation with him about whether they see him as a test player at all. Because, he's obviously in this squad now. We had issues with Ridhiman Saha. Obviously, looks like he's probably not even going to be going to the tour now. So, KL Rahul was kind of there as a backup wicketkeeper. I would probably argue that, he's kind of had a lot of chances in Test cricket, hasn't he?
A lot of chances. The last probably Test series that I can remember he played was in Australia, where we first won our down under series, and what he played just 4 innings. And if you see, the way he started Test cricket was with a boom. I mean, he did score those runs, and let's not forget he has the technique, he has the temperament that he can survive Test cricket. But again, he hasn't had a stable long shot in Test cricket. He's been shuffled up and down the order. Similarly in ODI cricket as well. So I think, if you actually want to give a player a long run, give him a slot, give him a set position, and see how he performs. I mean, we might be wrong, he might not perform in Test cricket and altogether done with it in a few years. But I think he definitely deserves a shot, and he should be back. And I'm hoping that, he gets an opportunity in England.
Yeah, Sanchit. Oh, go on, Anusha.
Sorry. See, with KL Rahul, I think he's absolutely a special player. He's ultra talented. It's like Rohit Sharma, right? He wasn't doing well in Test cricket at all. Virat Kohli still backed him. I just hope that happens with KL. It's just like Rishi said, where they should be very clear and just give him a long run. But I just feel he'll do very well in Test cricket if he's given a chance. The other point on Hanuma Vihari, right? I somehow am biased towards him. I really like him. He's this not spoiled, no offense, but not spoiled by the IPL world. Straight from Ranji cricket, and great technique. I don't know, but I just hope in the future he plays for us, because I really like his technique and the way he plays.
Right, fair enough. I'm sure that some people out there would probably argue that if we're talking about positions for KL Rahul long term in this Test team, then surely somebody like Hanuma Vihari needs to be given a priority above KL Rahul. I would have thought in the Test team. Sanchit, what's your thoughts on KL Rahul and his position in the Test team?
Yeah, so I completely agree with Rishi that KL Rahul has started off his Test career with a boom back in 2014. I think before he came into the Test side in Australia, we all thought KL Rahul the Test player more than the T20 player, because of the way he played for Karnataka back in those days, scoring those centuries. So he did start off well, and even in 2017, where we had a major of home series, and I think there was a record where he had scored 6 consecutive 50s, but he was not able to convert it into 100 for. So the topic was about his conversion rate at the top of the order. So I believe that KL Rahul did have those great chances at the top of the order, and though people might say that he did well at the top of the order, scoring those 50s and 60s, but he didn't do enough, I think, to warrant that place at the top of the order. I don't see him as a middle order batsman, to be very honest. So if we talk about maybe backing someone like KL Rahul, I think it has to be at the top of the order. But that actually brings me to the different point of the argument. If we are saying that we have to back KL Rahul, he's actually very special in Test cricket, then why are we ignoring someone like Mayank Agarwal? I think he has scored those big hundreds at the top of the order, because when he got those chances, when he was in a prime reign of form, he scored those big double hundreds as well, which KL Rahul couldn't do when he had that form in 2017. So if we are looking to back KL Rahul for a long term, we also have to see Mayank Agarwal as well. So my opinion of this would be maybe backing for long term, maybe backing Shubman Gill in the middle order and having Mayank Agarwal open the innings, because I believe Mayank Agarwal is a terrific player at the top, and we have seen that in the recent match in the recent series, barring the Australia series. I think he is a exceptional player and he should be backed ahead of KL. I believe he did get his chances, and he could not make good use of the chances back in 2019. I think that Australia series was a big dent to his Test career, for that matter. And I definitely see him having a great career in the limited overs format. I think he's an exceptional player. So I really wish KL Rahul to focus more on limited overs, because he is going to be the key for India's white ball side more than the Test side, I believe, right now.
Yeah. Anusha, I just want to pick up one thing on that you said, just to come back to you very briefly. You obviously said that Hanuma Vihari hasn't been spoiled by the IPL. If you've been following any of our comments that are coming in and any of our comments on Instagram as well, there's always a lot of love for KL Rahul, and that people saying that he should open and stuff like that. I just wonder though, because obviously Sanchit's mentioned Mayank Agarwal, who is, for all intents and purposes, a proper Test batsman. We've just got Apurva there saying Rahul should open alongside Rohit Sharma. Is the IPL blinding people's judgment a little bit? Because I just kind of feel like Rahul opening in England, I know that obviously he scored a high score of 149, as was mentioned, but it just spells disaster in my mind. I'm not sure. What do you think? Is it the IPL that's just kind of masking people's judgment?
Yeah, people won't like me for this, but it is. That's why I like batsmen or bowlers who are pure Test cricket players, like say a Pujara or a Bihari. Rahul, again, I just feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm biased. I just feel he can play anywhere, be the middle order or the opener slot, if you give him a chance. He's that special. He really is like Rohit Sharma. Both of them should be playing all three formats, according to me. But yes, people like Pujara or Vihari don't get the limelight because they don't play as much IPL, and they only get a lot of criticism because of that. They're very slow, their strike rate, because everybody wants to play like IPL. It happens for sure. I hope this WTC changes all that.
Certainly hope so. We certainly hope so. So that leaves us with kind of the last position in this middle order, which is obviously the wicketkeeper's position. And as you saw from our opening graphic, where we were talking about the players who were actually in this Test team, that leaves you with none other than Rishabh Pant. So let's take a look at Rishabh Pant's stats, his World Test Championship stats. He's played 11 matches, 662 runs, a high score of 101 versus England, and an average of 41.4. Oof, what a player. What a player Rishabh Pant is. I think that, this is a position really that's cemented in the team. But Rishi, I think that it might be fair to say that Rishabh Pant at some point kind of became our most important batsman, really oddly, in this lineup.
Has to be. I mean, look at the way he's performed in the last few months. In a situation, you haven't seen a lot of Test cricket where in a day a team would score over 300 chasing on day 5. But when you have the likes of Rishabh Pant, it actually is possible. Even though, you have to score at the rate of 6 or 7 runs in Test cricket, he'll still get those runs for you. He'll get, we keep talking about, aggressive hitting. I think Rishabh Pant is all about that. And to be honest, I like Rishabh Pant more as a Test specialist rather than a white ball player. I think he is way too matured for Test cricket, and He still has a long way to go in limited overs format. But Ashish, one thing that I would like to focus on Rishabh Pant, he's got very close to those big hundreds in Australia and then in other series as well, and he hasn't converted it. People keep saying, he gets out in a way that he keeps going after the bowlers. Something that I would want him to change his approach, because if you want to get those big double hundreds and 250s, you would need to be careful when you're getting close to a milestone. Once you get that milestone, start afresh. Imagine that you're back on zero and you're starting again to get those 100 runs. So I think something that Rishabh Pant needs to change his approach when he's getting to a three-figure mark, because if he can continue to score those 100 runs, he might get another 100 runs for us, another 50 runs for us, which might be very crucial at some point of time. But there's no debate that Rishabh Pant has cemented his place in Test cricket, and there's no way anyone is actually going to take place instead of Pant.
Yeah, there's a lot about Rishabh Pant that reminds me a little bit of Virender Sehwag, in the sense that, Sehwag was such a aggressive batsman, and everybody thought, he'll be made for T20 and he'll be made for like ODIs and stuff. But Test cricket was really his forte. Like that was the format that he would like go in and just bludgeon people, and like got obviously high scores of 300 and stuff in his career. So, hopefully Rishabh Pant will reach those heights one day. Anusha, Rishabh Pant has been quite the revelation since he's come into the Test team.
Yeah, so I remember our podcast before the Australia series, Ashish, and I had said I want Saha, and Rishabh Pant just made me swallow my words, and I was so happy to see him play the way he did. He actually, somehow, he has given us new belief, single-handedly, literally. He's made us believe we can win from any position against any opposition anywhere in the world, and I think that confidence going into WTC final is crucial. I think we can just go and achieve anything in this final, and it's very important for that self-belief to be there. And his batting, like Rishi and you said, I'm so glad to see him flourish in Test cricket more than the limited overs, because the way he plays, everybody would have thought he's a T20 player or an IPL player. It's quite the reverse, and it makes me happy to see that.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, happiness is Test cricket success. People take note. Sanchit, for a long time with Team India, the complaint was always that we can't chase a total in the last innings. We saw it happen over and over again in Southampton and in England, where we'd get ourselves into these positions where we thought, we're in a winning position here. And then, they would just go and flop it somehow, and collapse. And Rishabh Pant, as Rishi was mentioning, has kind of made it more possible that we can chase down totals if need be. So it's kind of the missing ingredient that India always wanted.
Yes, and before I start off, I think there is one stat I would like to focus upon. Before that entire Gabba heroics, our highest chase under Virat Kohli since 2015 was 102, and that was against Australia or England in one of the home series in 2016 or 17. So 102, we didn't chase anything above 102 before that Gabba series. So that's very odd stat. So it's really good to see that.
Wow, that's quite the stat. That's quite telling, isn't it?
So it's really good to see that actually the entire Australia series, the belief that we could chase down any total, and it's really a breath of new air with Rishabh Pant in the middle order. And when he came into the Indian Test squad in 2018, there is one match I would like to focus upon in the fifth Test match, where we had to chase, I think, above 400, if I'm not wrong, at the Oval, and India had a collapse, and we were nowhere in the game. But then young Rishabh Pant came in and scored 100, and that actually got some of us to believe that we could do something here, along with KL Rahul for that impact. But that was actually the change that we required, to be honest. So since then, Rishabh Pant has been a revelation in Test cricket, and he went on to do something similar in Australia, in Sydney, scoring a big 100 as well. And then the Australia series of 2021 was an icing on the cake. So it's really good to see that happening with India, because as we know that India is currently in the transition phase, and we talked about focusing more on the words like intent and resilience before the Australia series, and we could not see that at Adelaide. So we saw a shift in the attitude when the MCG Test match came in, and then Rishabh Pant started taking on bowlers which actually got the Indian team all out for 36 just a week later. So that was the intent that was required from Team India, especially in the middle order. We used to see Virat Kohli doing all the big chases single-handedly back in those 2014 era, but we did not see those contribution from the middle order. But with Rishabh Pant at the helm in the middle order, I think this is certainly a great thing to see. And I think that Gaba chase was simply outstanding. And talking about Rishabh Pant, one last thing that I would like to focus upon: we all talk about Rishabh Pant, the batsman, improving in Test cricket, but we also fail to realize that he has also improved massively as a wicket keeper as well. So there used to be a debate whether you have to pick your best keeper or your best batsman in that slot, and people used to prioritize Saha because he was the best wicket keeper India has had in the since Dhoni. I think but Rishabh Pant has improved massively as a wicketkeeper as well since that England series at home, because keeping the wickets on raging turners is not a easy task. So that is definitely the thing that is working on in favor of Rishabh Pant as well. So I think he's evolved really well, and he's going to be a big player for India 5 years down the line as well.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, Rishabh Pant is, slowly turning into one of our most important batsmen in the team. I think it's fair to say. So, I'll tell you what. Let's take a look at our final lineup. I think we're pretty much all in agreement that it's going to be Pujara and it's going to be Rahane at 4. But these are the middle order batsmen that are around. Obviously, we've got Riddhiman Saha there for the sake of this graphic, but he's not going to be there. So those are the stats of our Indian middle order for the World Test Championship. And that's our predicted 11 so far, everybody. So far, Rohit Sharma opening with Shubman Gill, Pujara at number 3, Kohli at number 4, Rahane at number 5, Rishabh Pant at number 6. And obviously, we've got Bumrah in the bowling, but we'll be discussing the bowling in a future podcast. So stay tuned for that. So, guys, in closing, I want to obviously ask you, we've talked about Virat Kohli, the batsman. Virat Kohli, the captain, however, is something that we're obviously all debating. And that Australia series, Rishi, kind of lent itself to another form of debate, saying, the fact that he wasn't there, but the team still performed really well. So what's your thoughts on Virat Kohli just as a captain?
As a captain, I think, I really like him in Test cricket as compared to ODIs because, until the 2019 World Cup, he was actually under MS Dhoni's shadow, even though he was the captain of the ODI and T20 side, but MS Dhoni was actually, making those important field changes. But when it comes to Test cricket, I think Virat Kohli has been actually taking the decisions for a very long time. And I really like him as a captain because, in Test cricket, you actually have a lot of time to, make those changes. And if things are not going your way, you can actually, turn around the game whenever you want. So I think, even though Rahane won us the Test series in Australia, but let's not forget it was Virat Kohli who actually called up for that meeting the day before he left Australia, and actually spoke to Ravi Shastri and the other support staff along with Ajinkya Rahane, and did lift up the spirit of the entire team. But I think his captaincy is going to be very crucial in this game, just because he's our most important player, and then obviously the way he's led the team in the last 5 years. Number one Test team, what he wanted in the last 5 years, it's actually happened, and he's just one step away from that trophy, and he can go down as the best Test captain India has ever had.
Yeah, he's in touching distance, really, isn't he, from that title? And I'm sure it's one that he would love. Anusha, Virat Kohli, the captain. What's your thoughts on him, the strategist? Is he aggressive enough? His legacy? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think like Rishi said, I really like him as a Test captain compared to limited overs. And now I think as a team, we are pretty cohesive, like Ajinkya Rahane, Rohit Sharma. We have a lot of leaders, Ashwin. So I think it's going really well, and Virat is also enjoying that. And like when Rishi said we're just one step away from that, I just got goosebumps because this is the biggest thing for people like you and me, and for him as well. So I just hope he wins that. He deserves it completely for what he's done in the last few years to build this team where we are today.
Yeah, Sanchit, I know that you're a big sci-fi movie fan, and there's an old episode of Star Trek I remember where it's Captain Kirk and this Romulan commander, and they're trying to outwit each other, back in the 1960s in the old TV show. I kind of think of Virat Kohli and Kane Williamson like that. I think coming up for this World Test Championship final match, where it's going to just be like these two great cricketing minds just trying to outthink each other, like two grand chess masters.
Yes, and it is going to be a battle between the ice and the fire, as most of the people are actually talking about this particular final. I think both are exceptional captains, and they have deservingly got their team into the final due to the performances in the recent years. And I think talking about Virat Kohli, the captain, if we have to judge Virat Kohli, the captain, we have to think where India was before 2014 when he took over the captaincy. I know that it was on a temporary basis in Australia, but India weren't that aggressive in the way that they played Test cricket, and that Adelaide game in 2014 completely changed the way we actually perceive Test cricket as a whole. I mean, who would have thought India would have went on for the chase on the last day on a turning Adelaide wicket, chasing 365 against Australia in their own backyard? I think that was the belief that Virat Kohli had instilled in this young Indian cricket side, and we are seeing the fruits 5 years, 6 years down the line right now. And I think under Virat Kohli, our fast bowlers have stepped up massively. Under MS Dhoni, we saw the resurgence of our spinners, Ravichandran Ashwin and Jadeja, coming into the mix in those heroics in 2011 to 2013. And under Virat Kohli, it is the fast bowlers who are doing the heroics. So I believe that if we look at Virat Kohli, the captain's journey, we also have to consider the fact that the teams that Sourav Ganguly has kept on building since 2000 when he took over the captaincy, and then Mahendra Singh Dhoni when he took over that side in 2008, and then Virat Kohli when he took over Mahendra Singh Dhoni's side. So I think if you look at it, it has been a very pleasant journey for Indian cricket team in Test format, and it is certainly remarkable to see that change since a long time. I think competing overseas has always been a dream for most of the Indian cricket team fans, and I think this is actually a golden period for us if we consider the Test format. And the World Test Championship final victory should be the thing that we are actually lacking, and that would actually end the drought of an ICC trophy for Virat Kohli. And lastly talking about the Australian series where Virat Kohli wasn't there, I think Ajinkya Rahane did a splendid job. But what that series did was that it taught India on how to play without Virat Kohli as well. So before that, we used to think that is Indian team overly dependent on Virat Kohli? So there was that question mark. So if Virat Kohli fails, who is going to step up? But after that Australia series, we are now seeing quite a lot of big names coming into the ranks, even in the bowling and as well as the batting. So it is actually a whole process, to be honest, if we consider the journey of Indian Test cricket side since the recent years. So it is definitely going to be interesting to see what we do in the next 5 years. But the World Test Championship final should be we actually deserve it for Virat Kohli of what we did since 2014.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, a game of ice and fire, and we'll see who will be sitting on the Iron Throne at the end, eh? Anybody who understands that reference? So that's all the time that we have this week, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, and we've got our openers and we've got our middle order so far on the Bharat Army. So join us next week when we talk about the bowlers and who the bowlers are going to be for our World Test Championship final lineup. So that's all the time that we have, everybody. Let us know what you think about our selections on all of our social media at the Bharat Army. Thank you very much, everybody, and we will see you on the next podcast. Jai Hind.
Join the Bharat Army this June when India take on New Zealand at the World Test Championship final in Southampton. Official match ticket and travel packages available now. Visit bharatharmy.com now and come and join us in the stands. A member of Team India's official supporters group, the Bharat Army? Visit bharatharmy.com and register now to become a member and enjoy all our fantastic member benefits, discounts and privileges.